You're watching the Weather Channel. Weather you can always turn to for accurate, dependable weather forecasts 24 hours a day.
Hey, good afternoon. You're watching the Weather Channel. Bill Keneally with you, and we continue to monitor severe weather now breaking out in parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, as well as on up into Nebraska. Now let's get an overview as to where we think there's going to be some real trouble today. You can see on the map here, the area you want to focus in on is the darker red, the high-risk area in Nebraska, much of central and eastern Kansas, down into Oklahoma. And once again, already now storms are beginning to break out, especially around the Salina, Kansas area. And lest we forget, some very heavy rainfall also occurring down along the Gulf Coast. You can see we've amended that a little bit to take in part of the region over into Mississippi and also Alabama. Now here comes the storm. Brought some large hail to Chanute and Coffeyville, Kansas. That has weakened as it worked on up around the Fort Scott area, as well as in Nevada and Sedalia in Missouri, and also up around Salina now. A big storm gets going in the past half hour. That's driving on north-northeast. We do have a warning out, by the way, in Cloud County in Kansas. That'll be until 2:45 Central Daylight Time. Reports of nickel-sized hail with that storm, and we are watching now. There's a real contrast. The relative humidity values east of, say, Pratt and Wichita running around 60 to 80%, while the areas out towards Dodge City, down to Gage, relative humidity values down around the 20% range. So a real contrast in air mass, and believe me, the jet stream riding overhead, all the ingredients are coming together, and it looks like the situation will be such we're going to have a very volatile evening over much of Oklahoma as well as on into Kansas. Now here's the satellite picture of the area. Look at the broad area of cloud cover down along the Gulf Coast. That is a warm front driving on north. In St. Charles Parish in Louisiana, 7 inches of rainfall over the morning hours, and once again embedded in here also a potential of severe thunderstorms. I want to take you out here to Kansas and Oklahoma. In a minute we'll get a better picture as the daylight breaks over the area. You can see the drier air. This little bright area of cloud cover, that's the leading edge of that drier air, roughly from Concordia down to Wichita, west of here now. Bone dry air east of here, very tropical Gulf air, and once again the air mass is coming together, and the situation ripe for tornadoes later on this afternoon. Matter of fact, we have a tornado watch in effect in parts of Kansas and also Nebraska. Now it looks like North Platte, Norfolk, Nebraska, down to Kearney, Grand Island under the tornado watch, while down in Kansas, Topeka, as well as on down to Wichita under a tornado watch till 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And in addition, we also have another tornado watch out, and that is farther down into Oklahoma, and that'll go until 9 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Here it is. You can see roughly Enid down to Oklahoma City in the watch area. By the way, Dennis Smith is live in Wichita. We'll try to get to him in about 30 minutes. He'll give us an update. Right now, though, the situation fairly quiet in Wichita, but the weather will be unfolding very rapidly in the next couple of hours. Now, let's go back to the
vicinity. It was real difficult for us to pick up, but what we were seeing earlier about 3 or 4 minutes ago was a wall cloud where it goes from the lighter color over to the darker color. We were indicating some heavy rain and the possibility of something at the tail end of that thunderstorm. Without knowing whether it was for real or not, the sirens have been sounded. People at this time in the Wichita area should be seeking shelter. You should be moving to a place of safety. Indoors is your best bet, and if you have a basement, that is your best location. If you don't have a basement, get into an interior hallway of a tornado formation in the area near Wichita, Kansas. What we're showing you on the light coloring in the center of your screen, and just to the right was the possibility of a formation of a tornado several minutes ago. Right now it looks like it's basically rain. It doesn't look like as threatening as it was a few minutes ago, but we're keeping a close eye on the situation. To be on the safe side, they have sounded the sirens for the Wichita and Sedgwick County area.
Coming up on the Weather Channel, we have Dennis Smith waiting in Wichita, Kansas. They've been battered by numerous tornadoes in the last hour and a half. They're going to go out and see some of the damage. Dennis will be live in a few minutes.
Throughout parts of the middle section of our country, looking at the thunder showers popping all the way up from Omaha and spreading up into Oklahoma, rather, and spreading up into Kansas right now. And these are definitely spawning tornadoes, very gusty winds, all moving up to the northeast at 35 miles per hour. Golf-ball-sized hail reported with these thunderstorms as well. And they continue all the way up into parts of Nebraska, too. You can see the yellow, red, the flashing lights here tell us exactly where the thunderstorm is, moving up to the northeast.
Good evening. I'm Keith Westerledge here in the Weather Channel Forecast Center. Lots of severe weather out there in the Plains States this evening. Numerous tornado watches and tornado warnings. Let's go to Wichita, Kansas, see what's happening there. Dennis Smith live from Wichita. I understand there's some damage from a tornado on the south side of the city there, Dennis.
Certainly has been, Keith. We've had some reports here of some damage around the McConnell Air Force Base. That's on the southeast side of Wichita. Also some minor injuries around the Hayesville area. That's south of Wichita and Sedgwick County. And we had the opportunity of witnessing a tornado on the ground west of town around the Goddard vicinity. We'll bring you up to date on the radar situation, show you what's going on all across the Sunflower State. We'll start up in the area around Topeka. That's illustrating some of the very heavy thunderstorms that line up approaching St. Joseph around Hiawatha, passing west of Topeka. That's TOP on the screen, all the way down into around Marion and Chase counties northwest of EMP Emporia. These cells continue to move on off towards the northeast and have the potential of putting out damaging wind, hail, heavy rainfall, and even the possibility of some tornadoes. In south central Kansas, the case has been some very heavy thunderstorms moving in and around the Wichita vicinity. That's ICT, pretty much in the center of your screen. That heavy cell, that yellow shaded area, north and east, or just to the upper right of the T in Wichita, is continuing to move on off into Butler County around El Dorado. Unofficially, that put down a tornado in around the McConnell Air Force Base area, and supposedly had done some damage. We'll continue to monitor that scene through the civil defense and continue to update you. But as you can see, there's also some very heavy thunderstorms near PNC around the Ponca City area. These will all be moving on off towards the northeast about 35 miles an hour, so residents east of the Wichita area and eastern Kansas should be on the outlook. Accordingly, watches are out. Warnings are issued when a tornado has been indicated by radar or sighted, and it's up to you to move to a place of safety, a basement if you have one. If not a basement, a place of safety inside your home like an interior hallway or a closet. Our conditions right now in downtown Wichita are improving. The sun is out. The thunderstorms are moved off to the east, but that still means residents east of Wichita be on your guard and continue to monitor the Weather Channel. Keith?
All right, thanks so much, Dennis Smith, reporting live from Wichita, Kansas, where we've seen some damage on the south side of town especially. We'll be checking in with Dennis before too long, and we just want to pass along that there is a high potential for more tornadoes and numerous tornado warnings that are out there from eastern Nebraska into western and northwestern Missouri, and farther on toward the south. A tornado right now out of Oklahoma City reported on the ground 2 miles south of Highway 15 and 2 miles east of Highway 77 in northern Noble County. That's about 9 miles north-northeast of Perry. These thunderstorms producing tornadoes are pushing rapidly toward the northeast. Continuing down into Oklahoma, we see reports of severe weather. And 3 confirmed dead from some strong thunderstorms that have pushed through northeastern Oklahoma. Another line coming through, heading right toward Tulsa. Hardest hit, though, this evening, about 6:30, was the Wichita area, just east of Wichita. We want to go live there to Dennis Smith in Andover, Kansas. Dennis, what's the story there?
Keith, it continues to be a story that saw a tornado touch down on the ground in south central Kansas, south of Wichita, about 6:30 tonight. Ripped right on through McConnell Air Force Base, leaving the base hospital damaged, heavily damaged, as well as many other facilities at the Air Force Base. The good news out of all that story at McConnell is none of the planes were affected and there were no fatalities, and very few, if any, injuries. However, as the tornado continued on the ground and moved towards the northeast, as it crossed out of Sedgwick County into Butler County, unfortunately 22 people lost their lives. A lot of those fatalities occurred in a mobile home area. In fact, they're still trying to assess the damage. You don't see too much of the activity behind us as far as flashing lights or a lot of damage, because we can't get any closer than where we're at right now. They keep blockading everything off, so the main reason is to get the people that were involved in the homes that were damaged, get them safely to a hospital, or to go through some of the rubbish to make sure that no one else is involved in the rubbish. They've had quite a few emergency vehicles leaving this scene in Andover and returning them to hospitals in the Wichita area, and they have continued over the last couple of minutes, even at this hour. We've seen many trucks that represent returning power to this area, or perhaps trucks that are like Salvation Army or even Red Cross trucks that are moving into the area to help the more than 1,500 people that are still affected by this tornado that moved through earlier this evening. And again, kind of a recap, unfortunately 22 people lost their lives in Andover, Kansas, east of Wichita this evening from a tornado that ripped through about 6:30 to 7 o'clock tonight, and as many as 1,500 people are still affected by this storm, whether they be without their homes or live in a damaged home, as the severe weather struck south central Kansas earlier this evening. Keith?
Dennis, can you actually take the crew in there and see some of the damage that has occurred?
as far as we can get right now, is still outside of the damage area. They're doing an excellent job of trying to attend to the injured people first, and that's why they're cordoning off the area and not allowing any closer to, not at this stage in the game. And the civil defense is extensive damage through Andover, and it's in west central Butler County east of Wichita, but as far as the damage and a dollar assessment, no figure as at this point.
All right, that's Dennis Smith reporting live from Andover, Kansas, hit hard by a tornado this evening with as many as 22 people confirmed dead.
The real emphasis, the real, well, power in the atmosphere over the last 12 to 15 hours has been along a front and what we call a dry line, an area where some dry air coming down the slopes of the Rockies encounters some Gulf of Mexico moist air and warmth, and a lot of that cold, dry air rides over the top and creates a very unstable situation. Well, you can see the sharp line of clouds right there, and actually the tail end of what was happening last evening. And that moves on through with some very heavy weather from Nebraska, Iowa, clear on down toward Oklahoma and Texas, including Missouri. We had tornadoes in all of those states. Even if you extend it down further, down to Tyler County, Texas, some very, very severe weather.